Hello. We are back for another video, and today we're going to dive into vetting, more specifically, how to vet a man. And just like the boundary series, I'm going to have to break vetting up into two parts to make sure that I give you all as much detail as possible. Now, the ways to vet are not one size fits all. Every situation is different, of course, but I just want to share a few gems when it comes to vetting a man, along with some key things that you should be looking for. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Vetting is defined as making a careful and critical examination to investigate someone thoroughly, especially in order to ensure that they are suitable for loyalty or trustworthiness. Everyone that we come into contact with in our lives should go through a vetting period before we allow them the opportunity to access our innermost thoughts, feelings, and secrets. And when it comes to dating, when it comes to men, we are vetting men to ensure that they are suitable for our loyalty and our trustworthiness. Vetting is not an option. It's not negotiable. It is an absolute must. All men must be properly and thoroughly vetted prior to moving into an exclusive relationship with you. You should never rush the vetting process or allow the man to rush your vetting process. When you first meet a man, you are meeting his representative. The real him has not shown up yet. Men are just not showing you who they are right off the bat. You have to take your time and vet them. Vetting is your internal interviewing process to figure out who the man is that you're dealing with. This has nothing to do with how fine he is, how much money he makes, or how good he is in bed. Vetting is about character, and character will tell you a lot about a man. The vetting process is an absolute must, and a man should not move forward into an exclusive relationship with you until he has been properly and thoroughly vetted. Vetting is essentially what a man says plus what you observe him doing. Men should be following up their words with action. And the two things that we have to get clear about first, which will cover our home base as women, is probably the most important things that you will hear in this video. In order for you to be able to properly vet a man, we have to understand attraction, distraction, and listening to respond. Attraction is normally the first thing that draws us into someone. The other qualities that make them who they are what truly matters. But attraction is what first gets them in the door. And oftentimes when attraction is involved, it's easy for our common sense to be thrown out the window. You can have this list of all of these great qualities that you would like to see in a potential partner. But the fact is, the part of you that picks the person that you are attracted to is not the part of you that makes that rational, well thought out list of qualities that you actually need. And so you want to be mindful that you're going to be under the sway of brain drugs that tend to overtake you in the early stages of a relationship when you're super attracted to someone. And because of this, the rational part of your mind is not functioning well enough to analyze a man objectively in order to see if he has the qualities that really matters. It's the distraction of attraction. It's a nicely wrapped gift with a bow that's good looking on the outside. But underneath that wrapper and that bow and the distraction is what truly matters. Attraction, distraction should always be in the forefront of your mind during the vetting phase. It doesn't matter how fine a man is. His character, aka what's underneath that bow and that wrapping paper, is what we need to get to. That's what we need to be focusing on. And the second part that covers our home base is that in the vetting phase, it is of the utmost importance that we do not listen to respond. I'm going to say that one more time. In the vetting phase, it is of the utmost importance that we do not listen to respond. Listening to respond is the standard way that most people communicate. What that means is that instead of really paying attention to what the other person is saying, you are already thinking about what you want to say in response. And when this happens, you are truly unable to hear what they are actually saying. You know, as women, we can be guilty of this at times. We love to talk. So when it's the man's turn to talk, we are so focused on formulating a response to what he is saying already, or we are talking over him to the point where he has not truly finished what he was going to say. And when this happens, it prevents us from truly being able to hone in and listen to what is coming out of his mouth. And if there are red flags or things that you need to be catching, you would not have caught them because you're not actually listening to what he is saying. If you're thinking about what you're going to say next while he's talking, you're not listening to him. If you're focused on your next thought in response to what he's saying, you're not listening to him. If you're talking over him while he's talking, you're not listening to him. You're not truly focused in on what he's saying. And one of the things that I can guarantee you will change the game is that when a man is talking, if you stop listening to respond and actively listen, you will start getting closer to the answers that you need, which will tell you if this man is suitable to move forward with you or not. Active listening is the ability to pay close attention to what someone is saying instead of thinking about what you want to say. When the man is talking, look at him. Notice his eye contact and his body language. Take in his tone of voice as well as what he's actually saying. Really listen. The body language of men can be easy to read if you know what you're looking for. Men have a certain way of standing, gesturing their hands, moving their heads, and using their eyes during communication that will tip you off to their real attitudes and emotions. And to be able to catch all of this, you need to close your mouth and focus in with your eyes and your ears. This is free game. You cannot make a careful and critical examination of a man if you are listening to respond. Now, in the beginning, most of the vetting that you will do will take place either on the phone or during in-person dates. It is absolutely pointless and a waste of time to invest in hair, makeup, nails, an outfit, gas, just to go on a date and leave with the same information that you came with. I'm going to let that sink in. Every day, you should be learning more and more about this man to determine if you should go to the next date. Stop wasting unnecessary time with these men. The whole point of the date is to get the data, to find out what this man has going on. And if you are going out on dates just to stare at him and eat, it's time to go back to the drawing board. Questions reveal motives and intentions. On the first few dates, you should be asking certain questions that will reveal to you the answers that you need to figure out if the man aligns with your values. So what should we be looking for and why? Number 1, are his nails clean? This one is literal and figurative. Presentation is everything. The way a man shows up into the world will also reflect how he shows up in other areas of his life. If you're out on a date with a man and his nails are dirty and he did not just get off of work from a construction job, some type of job where he works with his hands and came straight to dinner, this alone tells us a much bigger hygienic story. Is his shirt wrinkled? Is his haircut? Are his pants sagging? Did he take the time to present himself properly? It's not about designer or the brands that he has on or how much they cost. It's about, did he present himself in the best possible light with what he has? All these can be indicators as to whether a man values you or your time, which is often the same indicator as to whether or not he will waste your time. First dates are also first impressions. If a man is not willing to put in the effort to show up in a presentable way and as his best self to make his best impression, then it is clear that he does not value himself, let alone you. A vetting question for this category can be, what is your favorite form of self-care? Number 2, how does he speak about his exes? The way in which a man speaks about his past relationships, and more specifically his exes, reveal a lot. It shows us whether or not he can take accountability for his wrongs and is conscious of the areas in which improvement is needed. It also reveals to us his specific shortcomings, along with possible similarities that his prior girlfriends, aka some of the closest women to him, previously observed. For example, if he mentions that his last three girlfriends had a concern with him partying too much, please know that the partying will continue with you. And while every woman's non-negotiables will vary, it is always good to know what we are walking into. It's also an instant red flag if a man does nothing but talk negatively about all of his exes, especially with a woman that he just met. It's also a red flag if all he can do is point out where his prior girlfriends went wrong, but cannot do the same for himself. If a man is unable to be honest about his own shortcomings in his past relationships, this tells us that he might not be able to look at himself through a mirror. Men that cannot take accountability for their actions are not men that are ready for anything more than platonic friendship. They are nowhere near ready nor suitable to be in a committed relationship. A man's past often tells us and reveals a lot if we just listen. Ask yourself, what are the clear warning signs that you might be walking into based on his prior dating history? A vetting question for this category can be, what is one area that you feel that you can improve in while in a relationship? Number 3, how is his relationship with his parents? If I had $1 for every time this question revealed just how much our current behaviors were influenced by our parents, I would surpass Jeff Bezos for Forbes riches. Our parents are our first teachers in life, directly and indirectly, and this influence begins as early as being in our mother's womb. A man's foundation, his first teachers, are the woman and man responsible for creating him. This is one area that you absolutely need to dive into very early on and get a clear understanding of. What did he observe in his household growing up? Was his father present? Was his mother present? Were they abusive? Any drug use or violence? What did his father teach him about being a man? What did his mother teach him about women and how to treat them? Did he see his parents argue a lot? Are they still married? Are they divorced? Did his parents pass at an early age? If his parents weren't involved in his life, who was next in line to teach him how to become a man? All of these questions and then some have influenced the man that you are sitting across from on your date one way or another. Whether it be through trauma he experienced directly at the hands of his parents, or whether it be indirectly through him being guarded and closed off when it comes to opening up to women because his own mother was not present in his life growing up. Or whether it be to tell us that he came from a well-rounded background and it is okay to proceed. I could go on and on about the various scenarios that could potentially be there. But the one thing that I do know is for sure is that this is not an area that should be taken lightly. While being mindful that every man has a different background, any questions about his parents should be asked with the utmost class and poise, as you have no idea what he has experienced in his life. And to clarify, the previous questions that I just mentioned do not have to be asked to him literally. This was just for you all to understand some of the things that you need to figure out about him. Once you pose an initial question to him about his parents, if he is open, he will continue to allow you in regarding the type of upbringing that he had. And you can continue the dialogue from there, pulling more and more information out of him. You do not have to dive full force in about his parents on date number 1. Just throw out a simple question about the dynamic of their relationship and let him take it from there and share with you what he's willing to. For example, if you're dating a guy from Michigan who's now living in South Carolina, you can ask, are both of your parents still in Michigan or do they live here in South Carolina? Do you get to see them often? See what he says. Watch his body language and the way in which he talks about his parents. That will also tell you a lot. He might respond, yes, my mom moved us here when I was young. I see her quite often. My dad, I don't have much of a relationship with him. If the date is going well, just make a note to yourself that more information will be needed about the dynamic of his relationship with his father, because if the issue is unresolved, It is very likely that it will show up in other areas of his life, which means it could show up in his relationship with you in one way or another. If you decide to move forward to date 2 with him, you can continue to get more information about his upbringing and his background, which will hopefully fill in and shed light on those unanswered questions about his father. A vetting question for this category can be, who are you the closest to in your family? So this wraps up part 1 of the vetting series. And in a follow-up video, we will be diving into 5 additional things that you should be looking for. And trust me, you will not want to miss this. Stop wasting your time with men who do not align with your values. As soon as you meet a man that you are interested in dating, you should be vetting him from the time you give this man your number. Okay? Stop wasting unnecessary time. Because the more time that you waste with men who do not align with your values, the less time that you are using to put yourself in a position to meet a man that does. Until next time.